Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
I'd like to take this opportunity to wish everybody out there a happy holiday. This is probably the last time I'll get to speak with anybody about this, but we have a lot of fans. We have a lot of people who support the program. We have a lot of folks out there that holidays are a great time to spend, and for all the young'uns, you know, Santa Claus is coming in a few days.
And with that, we say good evening, everyone, and welcome into the Christmas edition of Tider Insider TV, just 3 days away. Presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock, alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm Gary Harris. Santa Claus is coming for football fans, and right now, Santa Claus is bringing us some Diet Pepsi Wild Cherry. I told you last week, you know, I'm always trying out the different Pepsi products from Buffalo Rock, but I think this one has, you know, trumped all the other favorites. Diet Pepsi Wild Cherry. As I used to say out in the country, you can't beat it with a stick. Pick you up some Pepsi products the next time you're at your local grocery store. Well, we're talking about football fans. Santa Claus coming. Well, really, Santa Claus is coming on New Year's Eve for fans. That's when the Cotton Bowl and the Orange Bowl will be played, Rod. Until then, Alabama has had some extended practice time. Today, the Tide wrapping up 7 straight days of practice. Now, despite all of Nick Saban's experience in postseason play, the head coach is still trying to figure out how to best handle the layoff between the SEC Championship and the bowl game. The Tide has 26 days between Atlanta and Dallas, and in the process, they scheduled 7 practices before Christmas, as I mentioned, and will have a normal 5-practice week before the Cotton Bowl on New Year's Eve out in Dallas. Yesterday, Coach Saban said there's no perfect way to handle the change in routine. You just have to do the best you can.
The layoff is what it is. The days off are what they are. We try to pick a number of days that we feel like we need relative to the number of days our players had off to get them back where they were when we stopped playing. And I feel good about how that's worked out so far. Now they're going to have 3 days off, and then we're going to come back and have pretty much a normal week for game preparation. And, you know, I'm hopeful that we didn't practice too much and we practiced enough to get them where they need to be. But until you actually play the game, I don't think you know for sure whether you did that or not.
All right, Rodney, I want to get your take. 7 straight days of practice started last Wednesday, wrapped up this morning. Now the players are being turned loose for Christmas. They won't practice again until they get to Dallas this weekend. And then, as Coach Saban said, kind of a normal game week mode. Your thoughts on how they've handled the layoff this year with the practice schedule?
Well, I think it's very similar to what they've done in the past. They look at it as a, you know, a one season, a new season, a one season type situation at this point. You know, Gary, I think he's kind of done this several times, and he feels like, as he said last night, kind of what they're doing right now is something that has really worked over, you know, the long haul. Maybe it didn't work as well last year, some of the things they did, but like he said, until they actually play the game, you really never know exactly if the preparation was what you hoped it would be.
Last year was a little bit different. 2 games to prepare for. Alabama experienced that, even though they only got to play in 1 game. Anything they learned, you think, is the only team to repeat in this year's college football Final Four that will help them get ready for this game?
Well, I mean, you never really know. I mean, certainly going through the experience that they went through last year, I think one thing that they learned last year was after they won the SEC title, Coach Saban said that they felt like maybe some of the players felt entitled a little bit after that. And, you know, maybe they learned something for that in terms of preparation as they start moving forward. But I'll say this, you know, talking to different people and having a little bit of an opportunity to be out there and be around the players and be at those practices, you sense a little bit different kind of a mentality, a little bit better focus. You know, you can feel the vibe, so to speak, when you're around the players. It just seems a little bit different maybe than last year. I think, you know, maybe when they went into that Ohio State game last year, I know maybe people would say it's not true, but, you know, maybe they felt like, you know, Ohio State was a team that kind of eked in there a little bit, and I think Alabama might have gone in maybe a little bit overconfident. I don't think that's the case this year.
I agree, Rod. They want it. They want it bad. This senior class has a national championship. The junior class does not. And a lot of those guys are going to be leaving. They want to get it done this year. Well, Alabama continues to rake in postseason awards. Last Wednesday, The Alabama offensive line won the inaugural Joe Moore Award. That award is given to the nation's top O-line. The Bama players appear to take more pride in this one than some of the individual awards because they could share it with their teammates. Rodney, let's talk about this offensive line. Now, for a team that has an offensive line recognized as the best in the country, they were maligned some this year, particularly for their pass blocking. But down the stretch, when Henry started to get in his groove, they were blowing people off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, early in the season, but we talked about before the season, this is going to be an offensive line that over the course of the season will develop because you had some new starters, obviously. You know, you had a new starter on the whole right side's new. You're talking about Shank Taylor. He had never really played much before. You know, Dominic Jackson played limited in his first year here at Alabama as a junior college transfer. You know, so, and you had a new starter at left guard, Ross Piercebaker, who was a redshirt freshman. So you knew it was going to take time to develop some unity and cohesiveness. I think, you know, the key point is what they did after the break. You know, heading into the last stretch of the season after the Tennessee game, they eliminated a lot of those negative plays, the things that they did in practice, you know, helped them as they started moving forward.
It's a good group, no doubt about that. Well, today the Associated Press announced its Player of the Year, and it wasn't Derrick Henry. Stanford's Christian McCaffrey. All those AP voters, they like to throw you a curveball. He had 29 votes. Henry was second with 16. But, Rodney, I guess if you win the Maxwell Award, the Walter Camp Award, the Doak Walker Award, and the Heisman Trophy, you're probably not going to be crying in your soup over losing the AP Player of the Year Award.
Well, it's kind of like in 2009, Mark Ingram won the Heisman Trophy. He didn't win this award either. Ndamukong Suh won it from Nebraska. You remember he had that big game against Texas. And I think that kind of propelled him to become the AP Player of the Year. So, again, you certainly would have liked to seen him get that from the Alabama perspective, but the fact that he didn't really, he's dominated just about every award.
Yeah, I think he'll take his haul and pass on the AP Player of the Year award. Also, the AP Coach of the Year went to Dabo Swinney yesterday. Nick Saban didn't even receive a vote. Well, coming up next, the men's basketball team heads into the holiday on a losing note, but Avery Johnson is still feeling good about his team. And he should. We'll tell you why. Plus, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets later on in the program. As always, you need to give us a call at 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Or email us at TITV@WVUA23.com. Or you can reach us on Twitter using the hashtag TITV. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. The award-winning Tider Insider TV will return right after this break.
You know, my man Redden thought he was Michael Jordan, right? Because he coming off SEC Player of the Week. We don't play like that. We don't have any Michael Jordans, okay?
Yeah, but they could have used one last night. Welcome back to TITV. Michael Jordan wasn't at Birmingham's Legacy Arena. The Tide was. A home game in Birmingham last night against Oregon. The Ducks, though, are a really good team, and they wound up flying home with a victory. Alabama led by 12 at halftime, but Oregon outscored the Tide by 16 in the second half. A three-point attempt by Riley Norris with under 20 seconds to go ended Alabama's winning streak at 5 games. The Tide is 7-3 through 10. Despite recently playing without multiple starters, and Avery Johnson still upbeat last night after the loss to the Ducks.
When I look at where we are with the roster that we have, I'm awfully proud of them. But I'm not going to back up. I expected us to win because we don't have a 30-point consistent score. We have to do it as a team offensively. So that means we have to screen and pass, and everybody's got to know the play. We drew up a play in the timeout, and 4 guys knew it and 1 guy didn't. So for us, we have to be all 5 guys on the string on the floor for us to be successful. And we did a much better job of that in the first half and not so much in the second half.
So Alabama could have won, but they didn't. But that's their first close loss. Their other 2 losses to Dayton and Xavier were blowouts. They've won a lot of close games without Dazon Ingram for the rest of the season, without Shannon Hell again last night, and against a really good team. They had a chance at the end.
They really did have a chance, Gary. When you look at it, it takes about 2 seconds to look at that game last night and tell that Oregon was a lot longer, a lot more athletic.
Better.
They had the players. Alabama really didn't, but the fact that Alabama played extremely well, had a chance to win the game, they played hard. You couldn't ask for a lot more.
Well, I'm like Avery Johnson, 7-3 through 10, 2 more non-conference games that they should win would put them at 9-3 going into conference play. I'll take it. I think most fans will, and I think fans are excited about how this team is playing. The effort, the intensity, the stick-to-itiveness. They never give up, and they're fun to watch.
Well, they look like the way they play hard, Gary. They play with confidence. They don't quit. They played to the end last night. They missed a couple of threes there late that maybe could have, been the difference in the game. But, you look at them, and I think clearly when Alabama gets that kind of talent that they need to compete, this is going to be a really good program.
Yeah, I think the future is bright indeed. Well, coming up, a pair of former Alabama receivers lit it up in the NFL on Sunday. Why former Crimson Tide quarterback broke a 28-year-old streak that Alabama fans were sick of hearing about. And up next, we'll be taking your phone calls, emails, and answering your tweets. Again, the information on the screen on how you can get in touch with us. 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Call in now to get online to talk with Rodney Orr and myself. Tider Insider TV is coming back right after this. Amari Cooper and Julio Jones both set franchise records on Sunday. Coop had 120 yards and 2 touchdowns as the Raiders lost to Green Bay 30-20, while Jones had 9 catches for 118 yards and a score in a win over Jacksonville for the Falcons. Coop is the first Oakland Raider rookie to total 1,000 receiving yards, also the first to do it overall in 10 years since Randy Moss, while Jones set the Falcons' single-season record for receptions. And a former Crimson Tide teammate of those guys, Jones and Cooper, is A.J. McCarron. McCarron led the Bengals to a 24-14 win over San Francisco on Sunday, becoming the first former Crimson Tide quarterback to get a win in a game he started in the NFL since Jeff Rutledge back in 1987. A.J. finished 15 of 21 for $192, 1 touchdown, no picks, very efficient. And now no former Alabama quarterback has won a game in the NFL since Sunday. So we can finally stop talking about that streak. All right, Rodney, time to take some phone calls that are lining up for us. First up tonight, our buddy Plato from Panorama. What's up, Plato?
Hey, Merry Christmas, guys.
Same to you.
Do you think with Michigan State's defense scheme-wise, resembling Alabama's, we'll see a little more of the read option by Jake Coker incorporated in the game plan?
Well, I mean, you never really know, Plateau. I mean, there's certainly a possibility. They ran some of that, I think, against Florida a couple of times, but we haven't seen that a whole lot this year.
Not much.
But when they've done it, Coker's shown that he can really run the football.
And it does give Michigan State something to think about in game plan for, because they ran it enough against Florida that they have to be ready for it. And the one thing about Derrick Henry, he's going to draw attention. There could be opportunities, whether it's read option or just Coker just seeing something to take that ball and run with it as a quarterback and get yards.
And he's been very effective.
Yeah, he's a much better runner. He's big, he's strong, but he's pretty nifty, too. He's been really good as a runner this year, and I'm with you, Plateau. I think that could be an area they could hurt Michigan State. All right, let's go to Gadsden and talk with Larry. Good evening, Larry. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Good.
Hey, I wanted to ask Rodney, man, what kind of recruiting class do we think Avery's going to be able to bring in next year?
Well, he's already signed 2 really good players. Larry, that's the big thing. He's got 2 already in. Now, they're recruiting more guys. The key here, Rodney, and we can't get into too many specifics, but Terrence Ferguson committed, did not sign. He's a top 10 player in the country from out in Dallas, Texas. That's a guy that if he signs with Alabama is going to take that recruiting class into a top 10 recruiting class, whether they get anybody else. He is key for Alabama in this cycle.
Yes, he is. And I think those are the kind of guys, Gary, that I think Avery Johnson is going to attract. I think if you want Alabama to get to that level, those are the kind of guys he has to bring in to be able to compete with these top teams.
Ferguson, a 6'6" wing player, can shoot the 3, can get to the rack. One of the most exciting slam dunkers in the country. Will be a big pickup if Alabama can close the deal, but he has not signed yet. Well, coming up, a look at Alabama's first player this year to accept an invitation to the Senior Bowl, and more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, phone lines are open, so call us right now at 205-348-9882, or you can email us at the address on the screen, TITV@WVUA23.com. We'll be back with more TITV on a rainy night in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. You stay with us. 6 Alabama players received invitations to the Senior Bowl, which is coming up on January 30th in Mobile. Today, Kenyon Drake became the first Tide player to officially accept his invitation. The Alabama multi-purpose back, also a great special teams player, although he broke his arm on that play. Excited about getting a chance to show off for the pro scouts and coaches in Mobile. And the Senior Bowl, Rodney, which will take place, as I said, in Mobile. Phil Savage is the executive director, also the color analyst on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, waiting to hear from Jake Coker, Reggie Ragland, Cyrus Jones, Ryan Kelly, and Jaron Reed, although we expect all those guys to accept their invitations, barring injury.
Going home.
Yeah, it's going to be fun for him.
Opportunity, yeah. I remember when Richard Todd played in it, 1975? Went back to his hometown. I don't know that there's been a quarterback at Alabama from Mobile who's actually gone back to the Senior Bowl since.
And you know one thing about Coker, I mean, Phil Savage is taking a little bit of flack because he's an Alabama radio guy. Coker's from Mobile. He plays for Alabama. Some have said he doesn't have the credentials to be in that game. And I say, what? Yeah. Look at his numbers. Look at the fact he's never lost a game as a starting quarterback. He's quarterbacking the team that's number 2 in the National College Football Playoff. He's 6'5", about 240 pounds. He's a pro prospect.
Well, I think that's the key. What you said there at the end is the key. He's 6'5", he's 240, he has a really good arm. NFL scouts want an opportunity to be able to look at him up close. So I think it's a natural for him to be down there so they can have that opportunity. All
right. That's the Senior Bowl lineup from Bama. Again, barring injury in the playoffs, all those guys expected to participate. All right, let's take some more phone calls and emails. Let's get to an email right now here on the program from Don Juan in Northport. What were Derrick Henry's statistics this season? Don Juan, I'm surprised you don't know. 1,986 yards rushing, 23 touchdowns, 1986 breaking Herschel Walker's single-season mark in the SEC, 23 touchdowns, tying the record held by Tim Tebow and Trey Mason. And, Rodney, think about this, too. We've talked so much about him. Had he been used in the first half of the season the way he was used in the second half of the season, he'd probably have 2,300 or 2,400 yards.
You know, we say that, but hey, you know what? The fact that he really
kept him fresh,
might have allowed him down the stretch of the season, to, as you said, to be fresh and be as strong as he was towards the end of the year.
But just a phenomenal season. We've talked about all the hardware. He is certainly one of the best backs in Alabama football and SEC football history. All right, what do we got coming up next? We're going to take another email, I think. Is Alabama recruiting Trey Nation? That's from Todd in Tuscaloosa. Trey Nation, a running back over at Leeds High School. Any
Gary,
word on him?
He's been a guy that certainly is an outstanding high school player. You know, whether Alabama is really actively involved with him, I think that's something that really hasn't been publicized much. You know, but again, he is a fantastic high school player. No question about that. So
we'll keep an eye on him, though, that's for sure. Let's go back to the phone lines at 205-348-WVUA and talk with our buddy Harrell from over in Anniston. Harrell, what's up?
Hey, Merry Christmas, guys.
Same to you, Harrell.
Heard this.
I want to ask you guys, how many have we signed for us with football recruiting, and how do you think it'll round out? Will we go up or down?
Well, they've only signed, was it just one player, Charles Baldwin, already? Or?
Yeah, and Christian Bell from Hoover, actually. So,
two players,
but they've got several coming in, 7 or 8 coming in early enrollees in January. So, how many are they going to sign? Is that what he's asking? Well, they'll sign at least 25. I think they may even have a spot or two over Harrell, but you know, they're going to have an opportunity to have another really outstanding class. They have to finish strong, Gary. Recruiting is becoming more and more competitive.
About how you close too. All right, thanks, Harrell. Let's go to Birmingham and talk to Marty. Marty, welcome into the program.
Hey, how do you think Michigan State's defense will compare to, say, Florida or LSU? And then Reuben Foster, is his thumb okay? Is he going to be full speed?
All right, let's start with Reuben Foster. He's been wearing that wrap and has played fine. I will think the off time would help him. He's full speed now because of those feet. I mean, he's going to be running full speed. Now, whether or not he can tackle as freely as he would like, we'll have to wait and see, but he'll be good to go. Michigan State's defense, I think, compares favorably to the best defenses Alabama has faced.
They're really well coached. I think they're really well disciplined, Gary. Now, I don't know if they're athletic as Florida, because I think, you know, when you're talking about pure athleticism, Florida's probably the best defense Alabama's seen all year. I mean, the speed that they had, the corners that they had, but I mean, when you talk about Michigan State, they're very well coached, Gary. There's no question about that. You know, points are going to be difficult to come by.
Yeah, they may not be as fast and athletic as Florida's, but they're well coached, they're tough, and they will hit you. In fact, those linebackers saying they're going to hit Derrick Henry harder than he's ever been hit.
I think, you know, in fairness to them, they said they're going to have to hit him harder than he's ever been hit.
All right, thanks for the phone calls. Thanks for the emails. When we come back, we'll wrap up this edition of TITV. Told you it was a rainy night in T-Town, but it's a good night. Only 3 days away from Christmas. We're back after this. As we referenced earlier, Derrick Henry didn't win the AP Player of the Year award, but a former Bama player and assistant coach, Dabo Swinney, won the AP Coach of the Year award, announced on Monday after leading the Clemson Tigers to an unbeaten regular season and #1 ranking. Swinney received 35 of 60 votes from the AP Top 25 media panel. Remarkably, Nick Saban didn't even receive a single vote.
It is amazing.
And here's something, Rodney, that's even more amazing, and we've talked about it, I think, before on the program, but I'm going to mention it again. The AP Coach of the Year award is nice. These other Coach of the Year awards are nice, but the premier coaching award for the year is the Bear Bryant Award. Nick Saban won it in 2003 at LSU, as you know, while coaching at Alabama, and he's not going to win it this year either, I don't think. Nick Saban has never won the Bear Bryant Award at Alabama. What kind of travesty is that?
That's amazing. It really is, especially in 2008.
Yeah.
With the turnaround that they had that year in his second year. You thought that he would probably win it that year. I don't remember who won. It might have been Urban Meyer that year because they had that fantastic
And
team.
he didn't win it in 2009 when they went 14-0.
Yeah, 2011,
I mean,
2012.
and as I said, not the favorite to win it this year. Of course, Coach Swinney and Clemson's had a great year. I don't, resent him winning. I'm just saying during the course of this incredible run, you think Saban would have won it at least once, but it has not happened. Another note involving a former Alabama coach, Dennis Franchione, announcing today, writing that he's retiring from coaching football. He's been at Texas State the last 5 years, his second stint there. He is done this time with over 200 victories, so he had a very nice career. All right, as you notice, our beautiful dress shirts provided by the Locker Room in downtown Tuscaloosa. Check out their new location. Home of the original elephant wear, just like we're wearing, or you can shop online as well. They will treat you right. Great clothes, great service there at the Locker Room. Give them a try and look good supporting the Tide. That is going to do it for the program. If you missed any of the show, we'll have a replay tonight at 10:30 right here on WVUA 23, or you can catch it online at WVUA23.com. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good night. We'll see you again next week right here on Tider Insider Television.